Alright, so it's finally time to start working on the Envoy again, and what I want to do right now is inner and outer tie rods, mostly because I want to take these, at least one of them, and put the passenger side one on the raineer, because the one on the raineer is broken and I don't want to put a new one on there, obviously. So if I put that one on there, I can actually steer that vehicle for when it comes time to put it in the garage. So I haven't gotten very far. Got the wheels off, got it jacked up on jack stands, and what I see in here is a lot of wear and tear, but some good stuff too. So let me give you a close-up on that. Okay, the first thing was the wheel studs. They're wet, and I think it's actually just axle grease or something. It's not anti-seize, which is what I'm used to putting on studs, but also they look new, so I'm wondering if maybe somebody replaced the hub at some point. And yeah, it hasn't been driven in a while, so it's quite rusty. Looking at the joints, you can tell they're past it. So we're going to be replacing the inner tie rod, which starts here, comes back to here, and the inner tie rod, which starts here and goes back in there. Now I've got the wheel cocked all the way to the right, just so you can see the stuff better, but this is probably how I work on it as well. One thing I noticed was this big pile of grease and dirt right here. And then you can see the CV boot is very wet, so it's probably broken and throwing grease out of it. There's some up here. Just throwing it everywhere, so you need to look into that. And this bellows was broken as well, so I pushed it back, and there's the inner tie rod joint right there, and it is well past it, so I'm going to have to find another boot to replace that, because I don't think my new one comes with that. And then also started looking up, and it looks like the top one is also broken. See that right there? Ball joint, and it needs replaced. And I was also looking at the A-arm bushings. That one's a little hard to see, but if I go over to this side, that one you can tell right there, it's past it as well. And the bottom ones you can't really see unless we get underneath. They're very difficult to see anyway. And I don't know about the bottom ball joint either. And there was something else. I think there was some kind of joint for the shock mount right here. It looked like it was out a little far, so I'll have to look into that. But I did notice the spring itself. That thing looks brand new, and I'm used to seeing springs with this kind of mileage on them where the coating is flaked off and stuff. And it's got Bilsteins on it, which it doesn't honestly look like it's been changed. It looks like an original piece, a lot of rust on it. So, and I do have new shocks and struts to put on this. And I don't think my struts came with springs, which is okay because these look pretty good. So yeah, plenty to do and see. Oh, and I had a surprise. See that back there is a socket. Looks like somebody dropped it when they were working on the truck and then just never got it fished out. Let's see if I can grab that, the magnet. Hey, and an extension. Cool. Well, I just unboxed my new parts, and no, I do not have bellows. And it looks like I paid $57 shipped for the inner tie rods. I don't remember what the, I say inner outer, $57 for outer. And there's two different ones, the right and the left. On the inner, they're the same, interchangeable, same part number, but I don't remember what I paid for them. I try to get Moog stuff, but I'm not really sure, and I can't remember now because I've had these parts for about a year already, if these are actually Moog parts or if they're just knockoff Moog. But since it's a project flip vehicle, I'm not so worried, but all my personal stuff, I definitely get Moog stuff. So there's the part number for the inner, and there's the two part numbers for right and left outer. There's the box for the outer. So yeah, again, I'm not convinced these are actual Moog parts, but I do need to find some bellows. Okay, so I found the bellows. I actually took it off the raineer. I thought surely one of the bellows on the raineer is good to use, and I searched for a new one, local part stores and Rock Auto. Rock Auto did not have a listing at all for this thing, and the local part stores, the cheapest one was 12 bucks a piece, and not in stock too. I don't know if 26071383 is the part number for this or not. Got a WPI-1. That's about all I can see on it. I'm not sure, however, if I'm going to be able to reuse the bands, though. I might be able to. And then I can tell somebody was in there mangled on that one before. So if you were only replacing the outer or only replacing the inner, you would loosen this nut and then just put it back on there close, because you want to be able to count the turns of that nut onto this to keep your alignment somewhat correct. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to replace both, so I'm actually just going to try to take it off the knuckle and then just loosen it from the steering rack and just take it off as one piece, and maybe that'll give me some idea. I guess I could loosen that just in case I want to take it apart and count the turns just to make sure. I thought maybe I would just, you know, measure it somehow or put them side by side and put them together. So obviously we want to get rid of cotter pin. It did come with a new one, but that one ain't too bad. And we'll get a socket on that. Let's get some PB blaster on this first. I don't think that's going to get anywhere that matters back there. Let that soak for a bit. Looks like 7/8. It wasn't overly tight. I'll leave the nut on there so I can beat on it from a couple ways. I want to hit the knuckle, and that might squeeze the knuckle enough to force it down, or I can just hit on the nut. Since I'm replacing it, it doesn't matter if I screw up the threads, I guess, but just kind of a safety thing to leave the nut on there. Just that easy. Okay, so that's away. See if I can't get these bands off here. And even more loose back there than the front one. What I'm seeing is the inner tie rod doesn't have a flat spot anywhere. This is really weird. Got some kind of plastic sleeve on it. I wonder if that's supposed to be back up in there. I don't know. There's the flats. Actually makes sense that would be back up in there instead of on the ball joint. That's why I didn't see the flats. God, it just didn't make no sense. There was no flats on there. So yeah, that might have to be one more thing I need to investigate here.
awkward position.
This is why you rent the puller from the parts store. It's like a disc that goes on there. It comes out with a tube, and you can put that on your impact, and then it will just drive it right off. Alright, I'm going to try this. I actually got a tie down attached to the crescent on the ball joint, and I'm going to try to pull it with my truck, because I cannot get a good angle on that. What happened? What happened? Hey, nice. I couldn't see it from the truck, so I'll have to review the video later. I really think that inner piece is not actually a seal. I mean, how can it be? You can't seal those gears, right? Ugh. Looks like power steering fluid got in there. I might clean that out a little bit too. I don't think there's any Loctite or whatever on the threads to this, but it can't help to have grease and oil in there either. Well, I forgot to crack the nut loose, and turns out the new ones don't have that nut. I'm going to put it back on the knuckle here. Let's see if I can loosen that from here. Looks like inner and outer are spinning at the same time here. Sorry, I didn't get that in frame, did I? Anyway, yeah, it was just enough I could get on there and crack that loose, but it looks like both moving together. We don't want that. No. Probably could have done that by hand. Now this isn't the most critical part. I'm talking about counting the turns. If you're a few turns off, no big deal. You definitely have to take it in for alignment after this. It's nice if you got an obvious flat that's clean or marked in some way. There's 29. I'm getting close to the end, so I want to start pulling. So it's 29 3/4, and the flat was in line with the knuckle. And you can see they are marked. There's a big L right there, so you definitely want to make sure you get the right one on there as well, which on these are pretty obvious. That curve goes in towards the A-arm, so it clearances the tires. These bands for the bellows, I'm mostly wondering if I could just straighten that back out to a square somewhat and maybe get those catches back down. If I could reuse these. Obviously it's not ideal to reuse them, but I'm kind of stuck right here. That might work. Again, that might work. So there's the new tie rods in and out put together. I made a scratch on the lock nut, and it did end up exactly at 29 3/4 in with that facing straight up. So that's really good. I'm actually thinking about putting some Loctite on there because of all the grease and stuff that was in there. You could put some blue on there, that way it could actually be removed in the future. But other than that, I believe we are. And I'm getting my bellows on there as well. Crap. I need to do that with them taken apart, actually. Do it like that. Let's make them finger tight for now and then tighten them down better when it's all the way on there. Oh, started to slip a little bit there. Easily rock that around so it's pointing up. Cool. What that thing moves around a lot, doesn't it? Let's see, with that blue Loctite on there, we're probably okay. Not put a massive amount of force on it. Well, if I find my right tool here, crimp that, I think it'll still work. As long as it doesn't keep sliding off there like that. I might try to clean that off a little bit there. Get some of the grease and whatnot off there. Probably could have cleaned the inside of the lip of the bellow a little bit better too. Well, I found the perfect pliers for crimping those. Like that. They're not sharp, but getting them way back in there is going to be impossible, so I thought I'd try these. Like that. They're not really sharp either. They used to be a little sharper. I'll give that a try. Alright, so I've got it kind of clicked on there, but I'm really curious how well this crimping is going to go. It's a very difficult angle just from my head, so I'm not going to take the time to get the camera in here. Oh, that's not looking good. There's almost a hole right there where you could access it. I don't know if I can get my pinchers on there or not though. It's mostly a no. I don't think there's good access any other way either, unfortunately. It just came right off. I don't think this is a good band to use unless it's just way out here in the open. Well, I'm going to try to figure that out at some other point. If I can get the small one on though. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing here. If maybe I mean, I'm guessing they are not supposed to be reusable. Oh yeah, well, that one went on perfectly. It even looks good. Could almost do that same thing if I could just get those pinchers in there a little further, and I just can't. That looks like a plate. If I could take that plate off, I could. But it looks like it's somehow some kind of a like a subframe connector for front end. I don't know. It might actually come off. It's 2 very large bolts here and then 3 smaller bolts, and it looks like that plate would actually come off. And they could get right to that band and clamp it on there. But I also wonder how easy that thing is going to be to pull off anyway, because it's at full right turn now, you know, and it's not like it's pulling on that thing too hard. So as long as I can turn it full left and it doesn't crush it and move that out more, and so when I go the other way it pulls it, might actually be okay. So I'm thinking we can damn near finish up. I'm gonna see about tightening up that locking nut. Perfect. Now the castle nut. It's not the same size. Okay, so it's 13/16s. I'm sure there is a torque setting for this. I'm just going to cheat. Looks like I'm right on target for the hole. My God, that's a huge pin. Whatever. Put my needle nose back over here. And then of course our little grease zerk goes on the bottom. It's not wanting to start its thread very well. Not want to start its thread at all. Just doesn't want to catch. Well, I've had to run a tap up in there, and it's a quarter 28, so quarter fine thread, just to see if I can start it, because it ran itself up into the other one no problem. Which to me just meant it was the threads. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Run it down just so she's tight. And we throw some grease on it. I think most people just pump it until they see grease come out of it. Mine looks like it's about ready to blow. There's still no grease coming out yet. I'm not going to risk blowing it out, so just leave it like that. That's an excessive amount of grease looking like that. Wipe it off so dirt doesn't stick to it. I guess if it came with a cap to put on there, most do. This one does not. So that be it. Other than trying to get that band clamp on the back of that bellow, which you can see it's not straight anymore. I'm kind of about ready to give up on this one. It still kind of clicks in there, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem very trustworthy. So one of the other things I wanted to try to do, since I have it apart, was to take the brake disc off and really give this a good polishing right here on the hat, because the wheels kind of started corroding to the disc brakes, and they didn't just fall off. I had to beat them off, not too hard, but I still had to put some force to them until they come off. But they did. So well, I mean, I'm going to take it apart anyway again to do the struts, and if I get back in there and replace all the other ball joints and bushings too, so maybe I'll wait. And yes, I was able to reuse the band clamp and got it clamped together, and it's on there really nice and tight now. Good deal. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching that as much as I enjoyed making that video. Really turned out to be not that big of a deal. So hope you learned something. If you like it, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. It really helps. Thanks.